you and Kevin came on together because you are a double act as part of the Fatman Beyond podcast that you've been doing for a while. How did you two first meet and get hooked up on that podcasting enterprise together?
It seems that every famous person that I meet, at least for the first half of my career, met because of my career. Like I was interviewing Kevin for Entertainment Weekly, and the interview was like, it was a filmography. I think it wasn't. It was Zach and Miri Make a Porno was coming out.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to do a filmography. And he said, great. And we had scheduled a time to get on the phone and talk. But he was like, you know what? Can we do this over instant message? You know, I'm a writer. I'd rather write.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, man, sure. It's way easier for me. I don't have to transcribe anything. So we get an instant message, and we're IMing for, whatever, hour and a half. And I could just cut and paste, and my piece is done. And then every now and again, he would pop up on my instant message. He'd be like, hey, man, did you see the Hulk? And I'd say, yeah, I saw the Hulk. Because it turns out that we're both nerds, and we're both nerds who want to talk about nerd shit with other nerds. In and amongst them, like, do I use a colon or a semi-comma for this? What's punctuation? You're an editor. You know how punctuation works. What do I use for this thing? And then every time I'd come out to LA, he would be like, hey, you want to, come over to the house? And I'd say, sure. And then I moved out here to do alphas. And he says, hey, I do this podcast with my wife. Do you want to be a guest? And I say, yeah, man, sure. That sounds like fun. And then it was, hey, I got this. Then I moved out here like for real. So I said, hey, I got this Batman podcast. You want to come on and be a guest? And I said, sure. He said, hey, that was fun. We should do commentary tracks for Batman movies. And I said, sure. And he said, hey, man, do you want to just be the co-host of this Fat Man on Batman podcast? And I said, what does that entail? And he said, just sit here with me. And I said, sure. And then it was, hey, mind if we put up some cameras in here? I was like, whatever you want, man. Hey, do you want to take this thing on the road? Okay, sure. Basically, it's Kevin saying, hey, man, and me going, yeah, sure. And so now it's, we are the co-host of the Fat Man Beyond podcast because he lost 100 pounds. But also there was always this standard fear that Warner Brothers at some point would come for us for using Batman
right
in like the name of our podcast. I guess it was a little bit of like a favored nation's grandfather clause of like, oh, well, it's just Kevin. That's whatever. That's fine. But still, he's like, all right, we got to change it because they're going to come for us. And then he's like, and also, I lost a bunch of weight. I was like, but you're keeping the Fat Man. He's like, I know, but whatever.
It's part of the brand at this point.
It's part of the brand. It's an evolutionary title. We are now beyond what we were before.
I'm going to show just here's the thing. Usually I have a time code for like a particularly good minute from a clip or something. But for Fat Man Beyond, I've got you a whole like 2 hour, 21 minute most recent episode. I'm just gonna scrub to like a completely random point and play like a minute from it, and we'll see how it works out. All right, here we go. Here's a few moments from the most recent episode of Kevin and Mark's podcast, Fat Man Beyond.
It is actually a big ass monologue.
It's a big monologue, but he's got his shirt all buttoned up, all tight, and very fastidious, very neat. It's like, oh no, I'm doing this because I love you, Paul. It's so great. So watch. I highly
watch.
recommend.
We'll wait. Pause us. Go watch that, or vice versa. All right. Shall we dive into a show?
We can dive into a show.
What? Oh, you got your trailer.
Yes.
All right. So this was one of the first ones that you did since you came back with So you do this live from the Scum and Villainy Cantina in LA, which is mocked up to look like the Mos Eisley Cantina. Perfect venue. And for a while you couldn't do it because of coronavirus, but now you're back doing it, but you're doing it in the kind of way that sports players are playing in front of an empty stadium right now. Like, is that weird? What's that like?
It's super weird because especially we're used to that place being full. And then for it to just be, he and I, it's a bit like how we first started. It was an audio podcast and we do it in his house. And, we were the only ones who were listening to what we were saying. And that was fine. The weirdness, though, is that like the bar has opened because now in LA, some of the COVID restrictions have begun to ease. And so like, yes, provided you can social distance, then yes, you can absolutely still have people in the bar. And for the most recent one we did last night, we emptied the bar except for like 2 or 3 people. And that is fundamentally weirder than an empty bar because it like full, you get it. Empty, totally understand. But like 3 people kind of laughing in the background is kind of like, it's like a weird, sad open mic. Rather than like, oh no, this is exactly what it's supposed to be. It's, oh man, nobody showed up, huh? Well, I guess we'll do a podcast anyway, I suppose.
Yeah, because you usually get to feed off the energy of that crowd, right? It's a pretty raucous crowd when you do this back in the before times.
Yeah, no, but before the weirds, yeah, we packed that bar with 100, 120 people, and now there's three, including like a
Mark.
bartender who's like seen it all.
Have you considered filling the stands with sex dolls and stuffed animals?
Oh yeah, like South Korean baseball is doing that right now.
Yeah, I would like to be able to fill it with droids.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That would be fun.
You should get some of the local droid builder clubs to come and drop them off there for you.
I'll talk to JC Reifenberg, who owns the bar, and say, hey man, how would you like to have like 50 droids at all these tables? And then when we're done, you get to move all the droids by yourself.